M.E. Metaysical Education Journal, December 28, 29, 30, 2025. Christina Herlofson, Synergetics Research Project. Finally, a clear-minded solution dawned on my anticipatory vision that may have caused the perpetually misinforming problems, as the word metaphysical for millenniums apparently has been subjected to misapplication throughout the human condition for all manners of misinterpretation. This omnicomprehensive solution occurred to me during sleep last night after viewing a documentary on Netflix last evening, and into my questioning mind early this morning. See Netflix Killer Sally. I realized that this multi-talented athletic personality from childhood experienced way too much invalidation. Defensive, offensive, competitively determined, self-accomplishing, self-demanding, extremely physical, self-other punishing. That the very design of her being ought to have positively succeeded in enjoying relative happiness, coexisting with anyone. The emphasis was predominantly physical, in my estimation, throughout every personalized interrelationship, and nothing accrediting the metaphysical, which was never a consciously coordinated communication consideration in the first place. Logically, because the physical is time and time is temporal, as we can read in Synergetics 163. All special case physical experiences are proportional to the complex principles involved in synchronous periodicity of associability. That does not describe the metaphysical generalization, which in principle are timeless, eternal. Consequently, the metaphysical eternal ought to be accurately spelled Metaysical. Instead, meta for mind was attached to the word physical, calling this conceptual function by the wrong name. So from here on out, I intend to correctly spell metaysical, which is more accurate, thereby distinguishing all that the metaysical describes. In R. Buckminster Fuller Synergetics Dictionary from a World Game Workshop in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, June 22, 1977, as an attending person asked Bucky, in quotes, "You use the tetrahedron as a model for the physical world. Is the tetrahedron also metaphysical?" His answer, in quotes, "It is metaphysical that we can conceive of the tetrahedron. Metaphysics is not also something else," end quote. In quotes, "The tetrahedron is one of many phenomena that can be apprehended and conceived," end quote. In other words, end quote, M equal metaphysical, all that is experienceable but weightless and energyless, end quote. Notice I corrected the spelling in the word metaphysical, changing it to metaphysical. Logically, the phenomenon cannot be both weightless, energyless, and physical, weighable time size. Yet, the metaphysical intellect as a function of omni-rational universe conceptualizes time, size, events independent of size, which is referred to as metaphysical generalized conceptioning. So from here on out, M equal metaphysical. This does not change the generalization. U equal MP, which is U equal metaphysical times physical. It simply correctly spells metaphysical, taking the P, the physical, out of the conceptioning resource, which always increases, especially concerning apprehending and comprehending correlatively to the lag rate between apprehension and comprehension, where the degrees of freedom come into the generalized conceptioning field of thought independent of size, time, space, sizing. Awareness, as such, does not belie that thought has shape independent of size. Do we need forever to deny that the metaphysical intellect is omnipowerful, omni-knowing, which alone can comprehend, sort out, select, integrate, coordinate, and coheres cosmically to locally gathered information in order to consciously employ its human cerebral circuitry as an integral anticipatory design science function? In respect to this newly conceived questioning answering, how much longer can the order-seeking individual's metaphysical intellect delay satisfying its own curiosity concerning the simplest something and the topological aspects of it, including the law of regenerative design? I ask, especially since from earliest childhood in any of the world's PRJMBSC, politics, religion, justice, military, belief system, complex education systems, induce incuriousness, therefore such resignation traditionally supersedes the individual's metaphysical intellect's potential awareness of the simplest something, the topological aspects of the tetrahedron, while also maintaining ignorance of the law of regenerative design. With respect to the law of regenerative design, as we can explore in Synergetics 166 through 170, in quotes, the smaller and simpler, more symmetrical, frequently occurring in universe, and the larger and more complex, less frequently originally occurring and periodically reoccurring, in principle, cannot be irrelevant information, knowledge concerning histories of humans on planet Earth, technically and literally. Philosophically, psychologically, humans of a mind must not be deprived of the cosmic law of generalized design science explorations, especially since realizability and relative magnitude of reproducibility apparently is best called the law of regenerative design, correlative to awareness that the relative physical time magnitude of reproducibility, as R. Buckminster Fuller discovered, is proportional to the order of magnitude of generalizability. Histories of the PRJM belief system complexes typically takes officially false accreditation, thereby superficially educing official control of the higher orders by feigning its supposedly God-ordained power so to do that misconstrues the misalignment, setting seemingly immovable precedents against its own humanity by the inculcating, indoctrinating exclusion of awareness of the system limits that are governing the transformation of conceptual entities in universe. Humans everywhere on Earth are none the wiser as they wittingly and unwittingly succumb to the PRJMBSC hierarchical fallacies by adapting to the physically reenacting manifest forms of it. Most of us are hampered by the educated ignorance of our own potential, consciously integrating awareness of the most economical coherence, respecting the constant angle. Constant angles information is found in the Synergetics dictionary under angular constancy, angular invariability, equiangularity, uni-angular, cosmic, October 3rd, 72, power ring, September 12th, 71, vectorial topology, November 17th, 72, systematic realization, December 20th, 74. That's 1974. Individuals of our evolving mammalian species, humans of a mind, naturally rely on trustworthy information. Regardless what interrelating events occur concerning the courage to adhere to the truth, referential to awareness of metaphysical intellects consciously evolving dependence only on trial and error explored survival stratagems. Amazingly, though, awareness of this essentiality becomes less significant the more the human imagination tends to popularize propagandized agendas while omitting, by default inculcating slave mentality, conditioning the otherwise accurately directed systemic thoughts, descriptions correlating to explorations in the geometry of thinking of an angle. Such omission perpetuates widely accepted reenacting ignorant manipulative intentions by the ambitious exploitive indoctrinating mentality, who most likely is powerfully positioned in the PRJMBSC, politics, religion, justice, military, belief system, complex contextual parameters as reenacting emulators of any previous generation's predominance. Who amongst us can figure out the default conditioning that controls any number of people relinquishing their independent thought to the mastermind's determination to force compliance, expecting conformity as the subjected follow specific determinations, resulting in the reenacting exacerbated problems that inevitably must discover where, when, why, what wrong turns by individual reacting humans and groups of humans become positively compliant or non-compliant, or negatively conforming or non-conforming. The movie industry provides dramatized documentaries of extreme human behavior examples, one of which I viewed again the other evening on YouTube Premium. The Iceman. The Iceman is a biographical crime film based on the atrocious behavior by Richard Kuklinski, who was reported to have killed at least 100 humans before he was sentenced to more than one lifetime in federal prison, mostly as a mafia-type hired killer to do so, but also without hesitation, as a reaction to a specific personalized insult. That he was educated in a Catholic school, was an altar boy, had a brother who was mercilessly beaten and abused by their father. As Richard personalized a deeply maintained distrust for contradictory, relatively unprovable, and yet definitely determined insults and irreversible malfeasance against his own potent devotion to a higher nature. The relevance of Kuklinski's trial and error explored survival stratagems, and anyone else's may well be their uninformed knowledge of the constant angle and at minimum awareness that, in quotes, an angle is a sinus, an opening, a break in a circle, a break in the integrity of the whole, W-H-O-L-E, individual, end quote, from our Minster Fuller's Dictionary citation and context at SIN, S-I-N, November 7th, 1975. In particular, the R factor of the PRJWBCHM, from the outset of a child slave mentality conditioning, exploits its human nature's innocence by cheating on the great accounting system of universe, which can be further exacerbated by the entity's contrived attempts to take something out and hang on to it. It continues being and undoing onto the physical, emotional, psychological, and mentally abused whose inculcated education perpetuates the crimes against the whole, W-H-O-L-E, individual, albeit lacking the slightest awareness of what underlies breaking the integrity of the whole individual. The whole individual is designed in principle as a unique, inviolable integrity that for millenniums has been ignorantly educated respecting angles and the conceptuality of systemic thoughts, angle, frequency, modifications, independent of size. Oddly enough, and in a rather simplified expression that supplants angles with angels, an almost unnoticed aberration of the same number of letters in these differently directed words. Plainly, I can clarify the conceptual difference by saying it is an angle, not angel. Whenever metaphysical intellect consciously generalizes its explorations in the geometry of thinking concerning generalized conceptioning fields of thought, to be situated as a dutiful member anywhere in TEUCP, the evolving universal communication process that historically, traditionally glorifies any of the PRJMBSC hierarchically self-promoting profit schemes taking one side or another, still does not explain adaptations to SIN, SIN, and as a cosmic logical clarification that does not, in the process, need to further exacerbate the human mind's benignly redirected reactionary potential. How could such potential be possible when approximately everyone in the world is so fixated on the punitory remedy categorized as good and evil, and morality versus immorality paying no trigonometric attention to the sine of an angle, which is the ratio of the length of the chord facing the central angle considered, also omitting potential awareness of this ratioed length of radius to the circle, whose center is also the apex of the angle. In other words, the sine is considered concerning the angle of error of a viewpoint of the individual's circular integrity, especially when the circular integrity has been violated. Let us not forget what regenerative means in the English language. It means local energy, pattern conservation of energy events, inter-patterning, correlating with systemic thoughts, awareness that structures are pattern conservations. Synergetics 600.04 and Synergetics 601.02. Accepting the conceptualizable truth of it, or continually delaying these facts of universe, our integral economics by design is cosmic. Nevertheless, as we can read in Synergetics 601.01 through 601.02, the chemical elements of which humans are comprised appear to be interoriented with angular constancy as are cosmic structures. It stands to reason, therefore, that humans are not exempt from universe, which is why humans of Yom, universe, eternal, omniscient mind will go on to realize an omni-rational cosmic accounting, the time energy of maximum efficient alternative technologies as exclusively employed by scenario universe. We seldom refer to scenario universe, which can be spoken of as nature. But with little effort, we can get used to doing so by easily admitting that nature is going from the physical to the metaysical, and so much more essential knowledge that the PRJMBSC punitory predomination imposes on every always partially overlapping generation of humans on Earth. It is especially reassuring to learn that cosmic accounting assumes omni-validity, unlike the relatively mindless economics that imposes invalidations to some degree, that exploits the value of doing harm while promoting false premise adoration for the purely imaginary manifesting idolization. Until next time, thank you from Christina Herlofson.